There is no savior. And what I mean by that, I'm not talking about a spiritual savior. What I mean is that no one is coming to save you. All too often, I see people blaming, right? They blame the patriarchy, they blame the government, they blame the rich, they blame their parents of why life is not fair. Life is hard, life is difficult, and I just can't get ahead in life, and I can't do this, and I can't do that, and this is this person's job. Someone didn't tell me, I wish that they did, but something that most people don't hear, or at the age of 18, or before the age of 18, or even sometimes after the age of 18, is that when you turn 18, you then become your own parent. You are responsible for waking up in the morning, getting yourself dressed and making your food, going to work and taking care of your kids or your spouse or whatever it is you got to take care of. You are 100% responsible at that point. There is no one coming to save you. But before the age of 18, right? Everything's structured. This is the classes you get. You have to be at school at this time. You gotta come home. You gotta clean your room. Everyone's setting it up for you. And then you're 18. You're like, all right, good luck, have fun. It's like, wait, you provided structure, but you didn't tell me how to structure. So you're gonna have to figure it out. We're all trying to figure that out, how to structure our lives. But the problem is that we'll condition you into thinking that there is going to be structure after the age of 18. And the only structure that exists is the structure in which you built. There's no one coming to tell you that this is how you have to structure your life. And I won't go on a soapbox about this, maybe a tad, is that we live in this society where they tell you, like, you have to go to college, right? You have to go, otherwise you won't be successful. I'm not going to go into all that, but that is not completely true. Yes, it can bring success, but it doesn't always bring success. So when you turn 18, and this is something I encourage a lot of my younger teenagers, 13, 14, 15, up until the age of 18, what I encourage them with is, look, you have to take 100% responsibility for your life. Here's the thing. Let's take an analogy. Let's say that there is a gun and it has a bullet in it. You are 100% responsible for wherever that bullet lands, even if you didn't mean to discharge your weapon, even if you didn't mean to aim in that direction. It doesn't matter. You could still go to prison. You could still go to jail. You could still be fined. You are 100% responsibility. Now, take that analogy, put yourself as the bullet. Wherever you land, more likely than not, that is going to be your fault. Now, the things that happened to you in your past, the things that happened during your childhood and your teenhood, all of that stuff, however your parents were, or the lack of parents, whatever your brothers and sisters did, or the lack of siblings, or whatever education you had, or whatever lack of education, that's not your fault. You didn't choose that. Those are things that happened to you. And yes, along the way, you did make choices that may have made things worse. Typically, as humans, we do make choices that unfortunately make things worse. Maybe not typically, but we generally do that. I'm not going to say more often than not, but that's not your fault. The things that happen to you are not your fault. Now, bring yourself to this moment as you're watching this video. Just know that everything after now is going to be your responsibility. I'm not saying some car crash on a Tuesday afternoon, someone just blindsides you, you didn't even expect it. Yeah, you didn't choose that. Your response to it is 100% your responsibility. Oh, that's funny. Your responsibility. It's not funny. So the truth is, no one's coming to save you. I said this to a client the other day, and they, after they left and they came back in the next week, they're like, look, when you said that, it hurt. It hurt a lot, but you're not wrong. And they went on how bad it hurt, but they're realizing, because they're in their 20s now, they're realizing that no one told them that. And no one's allowing them to own their own life. And that's a whole nother thing that I'm not going to go into for many different reasons. But the realization that you are 100% responsible for your life. You are the bullet. Wherever you land, that is your fault. And fault always sounds negative. Maybe you land as a millionaire with a great family in a great vacation home. That's also your fault, right? Rarely ever, do you just get lucky. I made this whole video on creating your own luck, wherever that's going to be. You can look for it. But under the circumstance that, because luck does actually play a role in this, under the circumstance that we're setting luck aside and just saying, what are you willing to work for? What are you willing to do? The problem that we run into as a society is we see all these successful people and we're like, man, that's what success looks like. And it's so grandeur and amazing and so cool. And then we kind of idolize that and we want that, but we don't see all the sleepless nights. We don't see all the 4 a.m., waking up at 4 a.m. and going to bed at 3 a.m. or whatever it is that and it takes a lot. We don't see all the risk and the sacrifice and all that stuff. We just see the success. And somewhere in our mind, we're like, oh, those people are so lucky. They're not lucky. No, they went off and they created their own luck. They made it happen. And yes, sometimes things just fall in your lap, but more often than not, you do have to work for it. So if you're looking at your life saying, why am I here? Why am I in this situation? How did I get here? Just know that it was because of certain decisions and choices that you made. If you don't like those choices and those decisions, you have to kind of look at your thought pattern and your belief, because your external world is a direct reflection of your internal belief system. So here are 3 things that you can do that will lead to a 4th, okay? The first one is accept the things that are out of your control. There are things that happen to you and condition you to believe and think and behave in the way that you do now. And there are things that happen to you, or there are things in your life that are completely out of your control. How other people react, that job that you tried so hard to get but you didn't get, or you raised your kids so well but they still turned out, not great, however that works. There are things that are out of your control. You can influence it to the best of your ability. So let's take the idea of the patriarchy, and there is, in my personal opinion, and from a lot of the research I've done, there are limitations that women have that men don't. And so let's take that for example, because yes, you can blame the patriarchy, you can blame the society in which we live in, but that's not going to get you ahead. What's going to get you ahead is and this is the second thing, you look at what you can do within the system in which you're in. And you say, okay, well, how can I be the most successful with what I have, right? This is a game of poker, right? You're given certain cards you didn't ask for. They're just dealt. And at that point you say, all right, these are not all aces or kings or queens. This is not a royal flush. What do I do with what I have? And that's one of the most important things. Okay, don't complain about the system in which you have no control over, but you start to look at what you can do within those systems. Here's something that Donald Trump said that it blew my mind when he was talking about how the system is rigged. Okay, and everyone's like, Mr. Trump, how do you know the system is rigged? And he said, because I use the same system so that I'm not paying taxes. But there is, for instance, for the people who are blaming the rich, I am doing a lot of research right now and I'm realizing why the rich don't pay taxes. If you want to figure that out, do your own research. But I'll tell you, it has to do more with loans than it does income. But I'm not going to go into that. But there are certain things you can do within every single system to be successful, to take control of your life, to influence it to the best of your ability and get the outcome in which you're looking for. So the third thing with that is to know the difference if you're trying and trying and trying and trying to influence something and it's just not turning out the way you want, you know, go ahead and get frustrated. Go ahead and get angry or depressed or anxious or whatever, but just know that you're not in control. So then it's like, okay, well, what can I control? So knowing the difference is definitely a big part of that 3-step process, right? The third step is knowing the difference between what you can and what you cannot control. Now, what this does is it leads you to this idea of conditioning yourself. You're starting to condition your central nervous system, condition your thought patterns and your feelings and all that to start becoming an opportunist, okay? Not an optimist, not a pessimist, but an opportunist. And what that means is one person saying, this glass is half empty. The other person's like, no, man, it's half full. And someone look, hey, water, right? So become an opportunist. That's my encouragement. You cannot always control what's going on, but there are things within your grasp you can control. So stop blaming the system. It's the system that we have. And you're probably right in a lot of the things that you're blaming, right? If only my parents did this. If only the government would do this. If only, yes, if only, but that's not the way it is. You have to accept the way things are. And then you can't play the victim because that's not getting you ahead in life. No one's coming to save you. There's no savior coming down and be like, okay, here's your $1 million. Okay, here's the luck we owed you. Okay, here you had enough, I don't know, saved up karma. I don't know. You reap what you sow kind of thing, right? No one's coming down to give it to you. There's no one doing that. So you have to take responsibility for your life, 100% responsibility. So let me add one more thing. In fact, before you even go to those 3/4 things that I mentioned, the first thing is to recite to yourself, I'm 100% responsible. I have to be the leader of my life. What do I want to do within the confines that I'm in? What can I do within the confines that I'm in? And once you adapt that mindset, those other ones start to fall in place. Success starts falling in place. Maybe success to you is doing nothing, living out in the woods. I don't know. That doesn't sound successful to me, but my definition is probably different than yours. And that's a whole nother argument about don't let people tell you what success is. Your success is going to be different than their success. So I digress back into this. Until next time, my friends. Until next time.